welcome to this episode of Seize the Data. We are very excited today to have our guest from Microsoft, Shreya, joining us. So Shreya leads global BI strategy for Microsoft, and I think she can do a much better introduction and background of herself. So Shreya, over to you to share with everyone, what is your background, how long you've been at Microsoft, and just a little bit of more details and context there.
Thank you so much, Logan, for inviting me for this discussion. I'm very excited. I have joined this industry for more than 17 years now, and I started my career designing database schemas. From there, I've been a management consultant. I have led strategy functions, marketing functions, and now this is what I do, right? And around figuring out the BI strategy for Microsoft, more importantly, Power BI, as we all know the brand. However, as all of us, I haven't seen such fast-paced changes in the industry as we are seeing now, and all of us would agree to that, right? And that's why, and how that change in the name of AI has also been impacting or enhancing BI is something I'm very excited to discuss with you today. So let's go.
Awesome. Yeah, we are very excited as well, and thank you for being here. And it sounds like you've done so much in your career, I guess, from management consulting, database schema, and now leading Microsoft with this BI strategy piece there. And I guess we can jump right into it. I think one of the questions that I have after, I guess, working in this industry as well for a few years, but there's so much marketing materials, and we hear all the time from customers or that BI is dead, or what is the future of BI and analytics? And like you said, so much is changing in this environment. So I'd love your take on that first part is BI dead? What is the future of this? And what do you see changing kind of over the next few years or just in the last 12 months?
That's a very strong statement to make that BI is dead. I will start with that. I think BI is omnipotent, and that's what it is because business intelligence is a need, right? It's more than a solution, and as you see, if you notice, it has evolved itself over a period of time by getting the right impetus from the industry, right? When it was big data, when it is AI, and even for that matter, the changing nature of SaaS, right? So BI has evolved itself based on that, and now you look at BI not only in the form of like dashboards or clicks or even conversational. BI is also looked at as headless agents who's taking actions based on the decisions that you make. So there's this whole evolution of BI in a way, and to an extent where I would really like to call it in a very simple manner. It is decision intelligence at scale. And if you want to unpack that a little bit more, all that means is essentially having the ability to drive insights and take actions from any form of data from anywhere and having a freedom of choice to consume that data in any form you want, right? So that's what BI is about.
Exactly. Yeah, we're seeing it at almost every one of our customers. Like, no matter how many other things are being talked about, it is still BI is where majority of business users are interacting with a daily basis, whether it's Power BI or other BI tools, is they're getting hundreds, thousands, sometimes even tens of thousands of views on different reports and dashboards. But I think like the marketing messaging that we hear is it's really around that BI is changing to this more kind of modern ecosystem and modern BI stack. And there's so much transformation that's happening in the space right now. So I'm curious your perspective on what does a company need to do to really set themselves up for this kind of modern BI environment today, and how do they set the kind of framework and guardrails there to really transform to this next level that is out there and these customers are able to reach?
Excellent. As in, like, it's about the fundamental slogan, right? Always. And in this case, the fundamentals, as we all know, we have been hearing about it a million times these days, is data, right? So uh, we have been hearing every day that your AI is as good as your data, right? And modern BI is essentially an infusion with AI. So it is equally true for BI as well. So if we get at the heart of BI, at the heart of a good modern BI lies the right data foundation. And why is data foundation important apart from all that we have heard around having the right governance, having the right ability to tap into diverse sources of data in a more simplified manner, getting better access to data, and so on? It's not only about all that, it is also about the need, the fundamental need of BI to have data contextualization. And very simply put, right, the beauty of a true enterprise BI platform is the contextualization of data. And I can give you an example of what we have done with Microsoft Power BI, right?
Mhm.
We are at the 10th anniversary of Power BI. Very excited to say that we have invested in this 10 years back when we had built the semantic model, right? So it's very simply put, it builds that logical connection between the different data sets, which sets it up to get better insights on your BI. And even more, like if I'm to use a very common language, it is essentially about connecting all the different dialects in which we talk. The business
Mhm.
users, the data engineers, as well as the AI systems for that matter today, they all have their own dialects, they all have their own language. So we need that intelligence to connect it together to build that contextualization. And that contextualization may not happen only in this manner, it can also happen when I, for example, as a business decision maker, might be wanting to look at my business insights and might be wanting to compare it with the industry, might be wanting to compare it with historical data, and so much other pockets of intelligence that exists all over. So if you have to think about what is at the core of BI to be successful, it is the ability to have that connected intelligence, to have that contextualization of the data, which is built on top of a solid data foundation.
Mhm. Yeah, I love that. I think what we always hear is kind of the classic garbage in, garbage out. And we're hearing it a lot with the, I guess, AI world, but it, I think, applies to everything in BI today. And like, it almost feels like these two things are really one. And I know they're talked about separately by a lot of people as AI is over here, BI is over here. But we're seeing so much overlap between the two. And almost every single company, I think, right now is thinking about how do you weave that BI strategy into a part of your AI strategy. And I'm curious your thoughts there from, I guess, your perspective of just how do you see companies thinking about that of AI plus BI? Is that just AI plus BI equals decision intelligence? Or what does that look like in this future environment that I guess is we're living in today?
It's a very pertinent question, as you know, right? Like because if you look at a very popular statistic by Gartner, it says that 75% of BI platforms will essentially integrate AI or ML for automated insights by 2026. So
Wow.
what does it mean? Our customers are already there from our perspective. The industry is already there. And as I mentioned, like BI and AI has infused together, and that's what you're seeing as well. What it means is we are fundamentally living in an irony that if we need to modernize BI to get more intelligent insights, would we not use intelligent insights to modernize our whole BI journey? So that's where it all takes us again. So that means the customers would need to have, our customers are constantly asking us, how do we get to make that decision faster? We want to get there. We want to get to modern BI. How do you help us decide that faster? What should we modernize? How should we modernize? Give us that end state and also help us through that journey. And Logan, you have been experiencing this every day with your customers where you help them take that decision, right, within 24 hours. I'm very curious to also understand from you your perspective on how you have been looking at this, how AI has been infused into BI and helping customers really with that journey of modernization.
Yeah, yeah. That's a great question. So I think for us, I guess looking back when we started data logs at this point, it was almost 5 years ago. And the initial starting was it was because kind of two things were happening. One was BI was growing so fast at the company I was at, and there were so few guardrails in place. So we went from having a couple hundred reports to thousands and then tens of thousands. And so that promise of self-service existed through and through of anyone could instantly create a data product, create some sort of visualization report. And with AI today, I think it gets easier of what used to take a month, like to your point, is with AI infused. It could take a couple hours to minutes to prompt engineer, get an entire new report dashboard spun up. But that fundamental problem that exists of, hey, is what's created, is it accurate? Is it built on the right data foundation? Is there six different copies of this semantic floating around somewhere else? And now we have the CFO viewing one number, a manager of finance looking at others. How do you take this piece that's evolving so quickly and add kind of these guardrails in place to ultimately make it successful? And for us at Data Logs, we're calling it BI Ops, but I think every industry, every different company has different kind of wordings. But the goal is ultimately the same: is how do you take this data foundation or proprietary data that's unique to your organization and actually make it valuable? And these insights are surfaced through BI. And with the right guardrails in place, it can only be more and more successful. And for us, I think that's what we're ultimately trying to empower is how do we tie these things together, but really help teams create the best in class analytics, BI environment. Maybe we'll start calling it decision intelligence ops soon. I don't know the exact area there, but that's how we think about it. But yeah, I'm curious your thoughts as well on kind of that whole BI ops realm.
Oh, fantastic. I mean, it's again, it's back to the fundamentals, right? So we do have customers who are making decisions faster. And in fact, also AI tools are being used, solutions are being used to help them through the modernization journey, not only make them take the decision faster, right? Now, modernization has become much more efficient. Like previously, it used to take months to get to that point, but now it's at least 50% faster. I speak to many of our other organizations and partners every day who have those solutions who are helping the customers take that journey.
Mhm. And what does that modernization actually look like? So if you had some, it doesn't have to be exact customers or examples of clients or anything, but I'm curious when someone comes to you and it's like, hey, we are still emailing PDFs every morning at 8 a.m. and we want to build a AI agentic future of BI, is how do you approach that journey and help that customer kind of take it to the next level?
So I think like if I'm to stay on the discussion on modernization, what does modernization look like? What does a modern BI look like, right? Understand that more. I would say, like as I was saying, it is more about decision intelligence at scale, right? And I spoke about two pillars essentially supporting it. So one is more on the, the data foundation, the connected intelligence that I talk about, and the second most critical piece is also about the choice of consumption of the insights, right? And the form factor really doesn't matter anymore because it's I would look at BI as a spectrum, right? It's a consumption layer which is a full spectrum which is attuned to that user, right? And it can be clicks, it can be conversations, it can be headless, as I was mentioning, right? So if you think of an user who needs to get that insight every morning being served in his app of choice, it can be a user who would also like to go deeper into those insights by looking through the dashboards and creating those insights and asking more questions. It is we are truly at the cusp of human plus intelligence partnership, right? Wherein we are saying that how it is all coming together, how we are able to democratize serving intelligence based on the user need, based on how a user wants to consume from any point in any form that they want. But one thing I must mention, Logan, is that it is, as we say all of this, it is very important to understand it. It is a transition. It's a transformation, right? So it is very important to create the relevance of that transformation and bring people together to help them go through it through the different center of excellence that we are seeing as well.
Right, right, right. Yeah, I think the transformation for us is like a really key theme right now as a company. Is there is so much change in the industry, and I think BI being one area, I'm sure every other area of the data stack and AI is changing like the entire world. But on that transformation theme, I think the tools to make changes are also becoming so much easier. Of to my point earlier of hey, you can now make a dashboard in a few minutes that used to take months. Well, the same thing's true for these migrations is like what used to be a multi-million-dollar project require a 6 months just to assess, figure out what is the current state, is that that can be broken down into minutes or hours rather than this long journey. So I think like we're at this interesting time where people and companies can just move so much faster in what they're doing. And we've seen it like we work a lot with a few different SIs, but one of our close partners is with iLink Digital. And when they plug in on migration assessments, we're going hand in hand of how do we quickly figure out what is the scope, what is the scale, what is the effort level to connect the dots here. But then there's all these homegrown tools, and a lot of companies are offering them now. But how do you actually take a Tableau report, migrate it over to Power BI? What is that optimal path? And there's so much automation, I think, beyond just that BI, but that transformation can really be infused into an enterprise where when you make a change, you're able to make it so much faster than before. But yeah, I'm curious, what is the record migration time that you've seen?
So it's been like as I was mentioning earlier, it has. I have definitely seen it come down by at least 50%. Right, that's as much as I speak to the different our different partners who are on this migration journey with the AI infused solutions and capabilities, we are seeing higher and higher efficiencies that they're bringing in. And it is not only about the time in which they're migrating; it's also about the efficiencies of migration. Right, essentially about being able to make more intelligent decisions as you go along the process of or the journey of migration. So there's more and faster iterations that can happen through that process as they're going through that modernization journey.
Mhm. Absolutely, absolutely. And I think switching gears a little bit from migrations and transformations, one of the other pieces that I'm interested just to get your thoughts on a little bit more is we see companies at so many different kind of levels of maturity or where they're actually at in their analytics data journey. Like an example of this is we have a customer that is still sending PDFs at 9 a.m. every morning that are copies of reports all the way up to ones who have a custom LLM that they have employees ask questions to that pulls from different sources. And it's, I guess, getting closer to that truly kind of automated. And then there's ones that one is, hey, I want agents in the background analyzing data and actually taking some action on another system and taking in change. And when you think about this kind of spectrum, I think the one piece that all comes back to is at the end of the day, we're trying to drive business outcomes, but that data consumer is solve real problems for them. And I'm curious on that data consumer is who do you view that kind of at the future of enterprise is that data consumer that's interacting with all these reports, dashboards, is that going to be eventually kind of this agentic automation piece? Or do you think it's still that end business consumer, human in the loop in the next 12, 24 months?
That's an interesting question, and the short answer to that is we are living in a world of consumer's choice, right? So we are very lucky to be there, given the innovation that has been happening with AI. So again, simply put, it's a spectrum. You said it yourself, and I have also been saying that, right? Irrespective of whether you want to consume your insights from a one-stop collaboration tool or whether you want to consume it from a more familiarized window which you've been opening every day and doing it through your dashboards, or whether you actually want to set up that partnership with AI where you have entrusted your agents to be able to take actions based on a decision that is being made in a more systematic and in a more set pattern every day. So it's all about how BI is infused in the day to day workflows, providing insights, and how the different multimodal ways of consuming BI is evolving and changing, and more and more way. There are more and newer ways getting added with the different AI apps in which you can essentially consume insights today. So it's about that seamless integration across the whole spectrum, and it's about the choice that the consumer makes based on what kind of insights they need, where do they want to consume it from, how do they want to consume it from. That essentially guides their choice of that BI consumption journey.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And what are the challenges in your mind that may be preventing every company from reaching there? Is it feels like I guess it's not necessarily a technology challenge anymore, but yeah, are there big roadblockers that still exist from kind of hitting this state? Or what are you seeing out there?
I mean, it's like um, in this conversation, we kind of it seemed like we said it's all out there, it's all easy. It seemed a little utopian at times as well, right? So
Yeah, yeah.
it's not really that we are there. We have a choice. We have a choice to consume in any way, but as I said, it requires the fundamental data foundation to be there, the right contextualization to be there. And at the same time, going beyond that, it also requires the fundamental cultural shift. Everybody's going through the AI transformation journey. And in the process, there is also a need to understand these different choices, need to understand how, in a secured, governed way, you make these choices as well, right? That means there is a fundamental center of excellence piece that I was talking about for even for BI that is required to kind of prepare the organization to go through that change, prepare the people of the organization to go through that change, right? And empower them with better means to consume intelligent insights.
Mhm. Exactly, exactly. Yeah, the guardrails or that COE, I think, is so critical, no matter what technology you're adopting. But how do you enforce policy, have everything intact, and no major issues, blockers that really stall that growth and really hitting that next wave of adoption there. But yeah, I like what you said about it. In reality, it's probably not as utopian as we make it sound. But I've been playing around with a lot of different bots, automations, and other things. I had like the most utopian moment the other day with I tried one that would auto respond to emails. So when I logged in online, open up my inbox, I had everything drafted in my tone, and I just clicked send, 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 and it was like my first like, oh wow, this world is really changing. But if you take like examples like that and apply it to BI and analytics, I think like the pace of change, the amount of things that are happening is the whole data environment is going to look different. And I think it's just a matter of how do companies get there fastest and what is their journey, because every company is slightly different. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. I think
Awesome.
at times we are running. Uh, it's both pleasant and it's scary also to see how fast intelligence is running, along with us or ahead of us and know us better than we know ourselves.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And I can't imagine from a Microsoft perspective of you're really setting the future of technology in so many different levels. But yeah, just that ability to innovate and really see around the corner of what's coming next there. I'm sure it even feels probably more utopian in your day to day than ours because I feel like we see everything released and then catch up a little bit after the fact. But yeah, I'd love to hear just like if you had any kind of final closing out thoughts really around this overall topic of BI world, migrations, data strategy, the data foundation, to hear kind of your final thoughts as we leave messages to analytics leaders out there.
Well, I think there's one thing that we need to remember at this point, and we are getting reminded every day. It's a true partnership that we are doing between AI and human intelligence to democratize insights. So, business intelligence has elevated to that connected intelligence being supported by AI. And that means you can go to any extent you want in a secure and governed fashion to gather those insights in any way you want as well, right? But ultimately, it's also about not chasing those insights, right? We have reached to a stage where the insights intelligently are finding you and partnering with you to take actions.
I love that. The insights are finding you. Yeah, it is a changing and transforming world. But Shreya, thank you so much for joining today. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
Awesome.